Good morning, Big Brother fans. It is Friday, August 1st. We are into our second calendar month of Big Brother. And we do have a new head of household, although we only found out a few hours ago when I was sound asleep, about 3:30 in the morning, I think, Eastern time. So I had long given up before that point and gone to bed. So the feeds were down for 10 hours, maybe? 8, I don't know. They were down for a long time. Fairly disappointing that the feeds were down for so long. But, you know, it is what it is. I'm going to spare you that grumbling. But, yeah. And so let's wait for that for a second. This is going to be I'm going to say it, it's going to be a brief podcast this morning, only because I'm probably going to do a longer one either later tonight or definitely tomorrow. But I'm going to guess that I'll have more thoughts later today. Because we had some interesting, it's not going to be your standard head of household week, it doesn't seem like. It seems like I had predicted that things are going to be the same old, but no, I don't think it will be. Definitely going to be a shakeup this week. All right, so let's go back to the eviction show and talk about that, and then we'll talk about the head of household, and then we'll put a bow in it and talk to you again later today, again, as I said. So, the show. Let's get right to the battle for the block, because I don't care about the recapping stuff. We really didn't learn anything new. What we had on the Battle of the Block is a memory competition. I forgot to mention it in late yesterday's show because Julie did a preview for us, and I speculated that it might favor Kelly because it was a name that or count the differences between two quote identical rooms. So they had two mirror image rooms in theories that the three house guests would run between and count up the number of differences. Now, a difference would be there was like a wall that had about 5 paintings on it, and at least one, if not two, of the paintings were different between the two rooms. They were different paintings between the two rooms. So if one painting was a dog in one room and maybe it was a cat in the other room, that is one difference. This is important, and I haven't heard yet whether this is how it played out. But so they counted the number of differences. Julie did a dry run or a test run earlier in the day, which I shared. She put it out on Instagram. I recorded it and pasted it to Blue Sky. She did it herself, and in the end, she said there was 6 differences. That was her test run. She also had 2 minutes to do it, and when the show was on, they actually lowered that time to 1.5 minutes, which is fine because that was plenty of time. Kelly, Will, and Adrian did the competition, and they basically had to run back. There was it seemed like they had to have their answer before the 1.5 minutes, but either way, they were all in. Kelly was the first in. She guessed 7. Adrian was next. He guessed 6. I think he was the next. And Will guessed 16. So it's like, whoa. Is Will throwing it? Because nobody's getting 8 and 7, or 7 and 6 and 16. So Julie announced the actual number of differences was 8. Aha! It was 8, and it was closest without going over. Not that it mattered, but in this case, Kelly won the battle, or the blockbuster. So Kelly was safe. Now, we'll only dwell on this for half a second, and I have not heard if Will has talked about it since then, because again, the feeds just came back a few hours ago. But we were curious. Someone pointed out they wondered if Will was saying it was a difference in one room and a difference in the other room counted as 2. Because if it did, and he managed to find every single difference and counted each difference as 1, and he could come up with 16 by doubling 8. Don't know, haven't heard him say anything, but if that's the case, well, that's just a failure to follow instructions. And so, sorry, Will, but there's others that think that he just threw it, that he just pulled the highest number, and he was throwing it. I don't know why, I don't know why. Why would he throw it? Why wouldn't he make himself safe? He knew he was going to get voted. He knew he should have felt fairly confident that he was safe, because you don't want to take a chance. But I don't know. I just don't know. So they came back to do the vote. I should have written this down. They came back in the whole drama of, Kelly won, and it was not a big, scrambling for the vote. They already have played these things out in their minds, so there's not generally a big scramble. Adrian did pull Keanu aside, and Keanu was like, dude, why are you even questioning me? Like, of course I'm going to vote, I'm going to vote to keep you safe, kind of a thing. But that was the only mini scramble we saw. Then Julie called them to their seats. They go in to do the votes. Vinny was the first one in, and Vinny was all angry. Like, oh, what am I going to do? I don't know. Maybe he was serious. I kind of thought he was doing it for dramatic effect. In the end, he voted Adrian out. The end vote, to cut to the chase, was 8-4, because there was 12 votes. So it was 8-4 to evict Adrian. The people that voted for Will to be evicted, and I may miss one here. It was definitely Catherine, Riley, Adrian, and Kelly. That was it. Yes, not Adrian. Sorry. Riley, Catherine, Keanu, and Kelly. Those were the 4 votes to evict Will. Everybody else voted to evict Adrian, which we kind of thought. We were kind of saying, well, maybe Vinny and Zach are the swing votes, and they're going to vote to evict Adrian, and that's kind of why we thought it was definitely going to be Adrian going, and that's how it played out. So Adrian's evicted, goes out and talks to Julie, all good, whatever. I mean, it was very tearful. It was a very emotional ceremony, because Will, when he got to do his speech, just said, I'm not going to say anything bad, and he was kind of tearing up and crying, and then Adrian was even worse, because he was basically throwing himself, please don't get rid of me, I'll do anything, this is, I need to stay, and it was very emotional, and I'm not meaning to make light of it, but yeah, it was kind of a lot. And so, but he went, and he was fine once he got out talking to Julie. Let's carry on, and we are. Show ended, feeds went down, and again, feeds did not come back until roughly 3:30 in the morning Eastern time, at which point we find out, drum roll please, Riley won head of household. Riley, who I have talked about a couple of times recently, specifically yesterday, I think I talked about him again a couple of times. That was not what I expected to happen. I jokingly said, people are like, either Riley and Catherine need to go on the block, is what was being put out by a few people. They need to be the nominees next week. And I just said flat out, they are not going to be on the block this week. It's just not happening. Now, that was basically because I just didn't think anyone that would put them up. I really anticipated seeing Keanu and Kelly and possibly Will right back up on the block again this week. They just seem to be, they've fallen into a pattern, and that's how I thought it would go. I did not think that Riley would win head of household, but he did. What does that mean? Well, he's already flat out said that he will nominate Morgan, Mickey, and Ashley. And yes, they are the 3 black women in the house. It does not look good. And I'm not even going to try to defend it. It's just going to be the way it's going to be. Is it a race thing? I don't think it's 100% a race thing, but I think that may contribute to it. I do think that in some ways Riley is potentially partially motivated by, what do you want to call it, implicit bias. He's felt like they were working against them. The 2, Lauren and Catherine, have been talking about at least Morgan and Mickey about not being comfortable with them, and there's been a race angle there, a feeling of that. There's also a 10-year age difference between Lauren and Catherine and Mickey and Morgan. Mickey and Morgan are in their mid-30s. Ashley's a little bit older than Lauren and Catherine. And then you have Lauren and Catherine who are in their early 20s, or 23 and 24, I think, and Mickey and Morgan are 34 and 35, somewhere in that range. Point is, there's an age difference, which a 10-year age difference is huge, but there's also a race difference, and you cannot sweep that under the rug and says race has nothing to do with it. There's an implicit bias built in. There is something, they are not comfortable with each other that's been talked about, and there's both ways in some ways, but it doesn't matter. I'm not making excuses for anybody. I'm just saying it's there. You can't ignore it. That feeds into Riley, who's smitten with Catherine, and last week was even talking about, if I get it, I'm going after those three. Now, I wasn't sure when he said those three if he was talking about Mickey, Morgan, and Ashley, or Mickey, Morgan, and Rachel, because they were also hanging out together. But it appears maybe he was talking about Mickey, Morgan, and Ashley. So it doesn't look good. I don't know how they're going to dance around it. I'm not trying to dance around it. I'm not going to get into an argument with anybody. I'm just stating what it is. And for example, like Dingo, aka Hamster Watch, is kind of like, I may just take the week off because I don't want to deal with this kind of stuff, with defending it or with explaining it, or because those of us that talk about this stuff, we get the brunt of people's anger. Like we're the ones in charge of the game, and we're not. And even if we try to explain things, we get yelled at. And it is what it is. I've said enough already. We're going to move on, and I'm just going to lay it out for the way things play out as best I can. But I will still probably say things that will annoy people, and I apologize. Don't mean to. Because this brings out the power that Mickey has. But let me touch one other thing before I get to there. The have-nots. I don't think they've decided who the have-nots are this week. They've been doing three. It was 4, then 3, then 2. So there's the thought that this week is only one have-not. I don't know who it's going to be. Don't know how it's going to be selected. Is Jimmy and or Catherine going to get the option to select the have-not because they were the have-nots for last week? Is Riley as head of household going to select the have-not? Or is it going to be some other mechanic, if they even have a have-not this week? They may say we're skipping this week. I just don't know. I don't think they have the bed space to skip one, but point is, don't know what's going on with have-nots. We'll know that maybe later today. Now, Mickey has a power. Mickey has the power to take over the head of household, and it just seems like prime for this to happen this today. How's that going to work? Well, the layout of the power, because I recorded it, I watched it. I haven't watched it for a few days, but I know how it works and what it says. The power is that Mickey will declare her intention to use the power, and I think that we'll have a nomination ceremony start. I think Riley will bring down the keys. He will decide who he's going to nominate. He will bring down the keys, and he will be standing there saying, this is the nomination ceremony. Now, will he reveal his nominations? Perhaps. I would think that he might. But whatever happens, there will be a announcement by Big Brother or the mastermind or Julie or whatever, and saying that someone has invoked the power, I don't know what it's called, the interrogation power or whatever. And Riley, your power as head of household is under fire. You have 3 minutes to interrogate the other house guests and decide who you think has this power. And then you have to make your guess. And if you make your guess and you're right, the power is nullified. The person who has the power has been revealed. And I don't know. So there's the question. Will his nominations continue? Or can he change his nominations? Will his nominations have been revealed? Maybe, because I would think if someone does this and you find out they had a power, you would want to put them on the block. So maybe he will not have revealed his nominations yet when this happens. All right? So maybe he'll get to amend his nominations. That's a thought. I didn't think about that until just now. But if he guesses the wrong person, then, and it would be anybody but Mickey, then Mickey becomes the new head of household. He loses his power, and she gets to make the nominations, and she takes over the head of household publicly for the week. he's dethroned, and she is the new head of household. It's nothing. There's nothing secret about it this time around. It is a coup d'état, a public coup d'état. The only difference between the old-fashioned coup d'état and this is that there is no. It's not. It has. There's this chance for Mickey or for Riley to save himself first. I think that's not going to happen until, again, I don't think any of this is going to happen until right at the nomination ceremony, which is usually late in the day, in the afternoon on Fridays. Like, we're talking 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, maybe 4 p.m., 4 or 5 p.m. Eastern time. So is when usually the feeds go down for that. I'd have to look and see, and it could be different because they want to give time for Riley to consider all of his options. And they're going to want to do all that because they got to fill an hour and a half. Well, that's Wednesday's show, but they've got to fill up time. And so that's what's going on. By the way, I have no idea what the head of household competition was. I saw something where people thought Vinny might have thrown it, but then they decided he didn't. I don't even know. Doesn't really matter. That's where things lie at the moment. We're going to wait and see who wins, how this plays out. We'll see lots of discussions today. I don't know who all Mickey is going to tell, if she is going to tell anyone else. I don't know if she's going to try. Riley knows there's a power. He's talking about trying to expose the power. He suspects Mickey might be one of the people that has the power, but he also thinks that it could be, I think maybe Ashley. He may even suspect Morgan. He may suspect someone else too. I would guess, though, if he had to bet money on it, he's going to say it's either Ashley, Morgan, or Mickey that has this power. So will Morgan play the power? I mean, when do you play it? If you're on the block, this is the time to play the power. Sorry. So, or will she think she can hold it and navigate this week? I would think she'd try to play it. But again, Riley may guess her. So it'll be interesting. That's all I can say, is it's going to be interesting. Mickey taking over the power definitely would be a, quote, fun little twist for this week. Then again, Mickey trying to use the power and failing might make it interesting. But the tensions are going to be much higher this week. The happy, easy nominations is not happening this week. So it's going to be an interesting one. And with that, I will talk to you guys later today, most likely. I'm pretty sure I will. I think I'll have thoughts. I think I'll have information, and I will share it. All right. Thanks for your support, everybody. And we'll talk to you later today, most likely. Be well. Bye-bye.